one today is we're going to take the steering gear out. When we were driving up, it was leaking hydraulic fluid, so we had to periodically top up the fluid reservoir, and it also has pneumatic pressure on top of the reservoir also, so we had to keep stopped, otherwise we'd lose steering. So the piston's leaking, so we're going to try and get some information off of it and either attempt to rebuild it myself or have a place rebuild it. So that's that. So here is the steering gear. It's in the aft, underneath the aft cabin bed, and I had to put a rag and stuff down there, but this is what's coming undone. I'll give you a better look at it once I get it out of here. But it's pretty straightforward. It looks like a couple hydraulic lines, and then 4 mounting bolts, and where it attaches to the quadrant on the rudder post. Looks like I can just pull that cotter pin and slide that pin out, and then this here is a rudder feedback for the old autopilot. So I gotta take that off, it probably just pops off. And that'll be that. And let's get started. Alright, so I was able to get the cylinder out, and there was a label on here at one time. You can kind of see it, but that label's missing. I'm not sure if that helps. So thankfully I got on Google and did some searching. I found a website that will rebuild these, and they had a page on identifying it. And they said if you look real closely, you'll see something stamped. So right there, you can't really read that, but there's a 29 engraved on the end of the piston. And I did some looking online. There was, these boats came with Hynautic steering systems, so that website was able to help me identify that this is a K-29 piston from Hynautic, which you can buy rebuilt kits to replace all the seals. I found a YouTube video of a guy doing it. It doesn't look too bad. Basically, I think I can unbolt this to remove the ball joint section. This just gives you extra flexibility here. This is a ball joint. And then there's nuts on the ends of these for rods. Undo those nuts, and then I think this is a set screw that holds this end cap piece on. And you pull it all apart, inspect it, look for scratches, and then replace all the O-rings. And there's a certain order, so we'll see that. I just ordered the kit. The hardest part is, not sure if you can see it or not, but inside of there is where the nut is, and it's not a regular nut. It just has like 2 prongs, so, or it has 2 little hole slots that you can build. I have to build a tool to get in there and take those nuts out. So that's going to be the trickiest part. And then the video said you can make it out of like a socket, and I got a grinder, so I'm going to have to try and make that out of, I think he said a 7/16 socket or something. I'll have to go buy one. So that'll be the hardest part, is making that tool. The rest of it looks pretty straightforward, but we'll film it and of me doing that and go from there. So this project's on hold while I build a tool and wait for parts to arrive. Alright, I got the rebuild kit for this K-29 piston from Hynautic. It's a KS04 is the part number. Watched another video of tearing this apart, which kind of led me to doing this. Quick note, the biggest thing, I think I mentioned it before, but you need to make a tool to get the nuts out, and hopefully this one works. I'll show you the nut when I get one off, but the procedure, or the notes that come in with the kit say you can use a 7/16 inch socket and cut it down to make a tool. I almost just went and bought one, but I took my kit, my current 1/4 inch socket set, and I tested different sockets to make sure they'd fit through the hole, and a 7/16 would not. So make sure you test your socket before you go. Make sure you know what size you're getting, because if I hadn't done that, I would have bought a 7/16 socket for no reason. So first things first, I'm going to try and take this ball joint over here off, and once I get that off, I'm going to start undoing the nuts for the piston. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so here's the nut I was talking about that holds the piston together, and the tool. A little bit easier to see here. There's just 2 slots in the nut, and I just made a tool that kind of slides in there. You know, you could probably make one that fits a little bit better, but this got the job done, so we'll work with that. And then as far as rebuilding it, it's pretty straightforward. Just pay attention to the order in which your gaskets and washers go. So the one on the piston here, there's a white on either side with the O-ring in the middle, and then here you just got a straight O-ring right there. Here you got an O-ring on the outside, and then I can get this out of there. Don't recommend using any metal tools because this is brass. You don't want to scratch it. It's soft. Okay, so here is the order. You have these two fabric washers on the furthest outside, and then just inside that you have a brass washer, then a plastic nylon washer, and then an O-ring. So just pay attention to the order in which you're removing it, and then the inside going back in will be easy. On the inside there's a Allen key here, which I think is a set screw to hold this on. And on the inside of that there's a nylon washer as well. So just replace everything and put it back together. Just make sure you take your time and do one at a time. So do one side at a time in case you get confused as to the order, and then you can use the other side to check yourself if you need to. And yeah, let's get it back together. I got some ATF and a Tupperware. I'll dip everything in that and just, you know, watch everything, make sure you're not scratching the O-rings or anything like that, and you should be fine. Alright, here goes. Okay, I got all the seals replaced and I'm about to reassemble. A couple things I don't think I mentioned, but you know, every piece I took off I inspected and looked for scratches. I inspected the piston shaft, the cylinder, all the end caps and stuff. I'll look for scratches, anything else that besides seals that might have caused it to leak hydraulic fluid. Everything looked fine to me as far as I could tell. So next step is reassembly, and then we'll move on to putting it back in. Alright. Alright, so the directions here say to tighten it up to 75 inch-pounds on these cylinder nuts. I do have a torque wrench, but I don't have one that goes that low. This is in foot-pounds, and the lowest I can go on this is 10 foot-pounds, which 75 inch-pounds is like a little bit more than 6 foot-pounds. So we're just gonna go hand tight, and hopefully that'll do it. And then after that, we put the ball joint on with the quadrant fitting that's right there, and we'll see how this goes. Alright, so I'm back in the aft cabin. We've got the piston in and hooked up. I filled the system. I found some directions online on bleeding the system. So filling the system basically is, this is the relief valve here. You back those off. This is the reservoir. You fill that all the way up, put some pressure in it. And then these hex nuts, or excuse me, the Allen nuts screws on the front on each side of the cylinder. There's one there, there's one over there, as well as on the helm station, and these fittings for the hydraulic lines. Once you press the reservoir up to like 30 to 40 pounds, you back those off and get any air out, and then you close these relief valves and proceed to cycle the helm all the way to port, all the way to starboard. So when you go all the way to port, you go to the side of the piston that the shaft has extended from, and you back off that Allen screw, and that lets any air that's pressed into that side of the cylinder escape. And then you go to the other side and do the same thing on the Allen key on the other side, which you can see that a little bit better. It's right. See if I can get this a little better. Yeah, so the Allen key, Allen screw's right there. So you repeat that until you can go lock to lock in about, depending on what setup you have. For us, it was about three to 3.5 turns. So the piston, I thought I might have had some leak, but I thought like the piston rebuild didn't go so well. But I just put this bag down with a fresh paper towel, and I cycled back and forth a couple times, and I didn't get any drops out. I'm gonna let this sit for a while, and I'll come back and look at it and see if we have any ATF on it. I did find, however, I do have another leak on the relief valve, and that I did forget to close the relief valve before we started bleeding air out. I don't know if that damaged it. I might have. Either way, my port side relief valve is leaking fairly steady. I got a stream coming down the back side of it, so I'm going to take pressure off this tank, and I'm not going to fix this now. It's going to have to get fixed later, and have to get some, hopefully get a part number off of that, and then I'll probably be bleeding the system again once I get that replaced. So one thing at a time. Unfortunately, found this leak, so fixed one, found another, move on to that.